Have you been doing a lot of these today then?
No. Yesterday, I like to do it in small chunks, so I'm fresh as a daisy.
Cool, cool. I'm just getting this list of your films up. So yeah, all right. Let's just jump in. Let's jump in with one of the big boys. Tell me about Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, you have the eight movies that I'm going to discuss. I see. I see. I see. Very good. All right. Am I allowed to change the list a little bit?
Yeah, go for it. You're Jason Blum. You're an icon of modern horror filmmaking. You can do what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, because I actually understood this is slightly different than I understand it now. So I'm going to start with Paranormal Activity. Can I do that?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah.
Okay. So Paranormal Activity is the most important horror movie to me. And it's the most important horror movie to me for multiple reasons. It gave birth to Blumhouse, to our company. Our whole company is modeled after what Paranormal Activity was, which was basically an independent movie distributed by a big studio. And it set us off on our merry way. So it's a very, very important movie to me. It's also, I think Oren really did make one of the scariest movies I've still ever seen. I think there's so much in it that's original and so much that is great. And it also is the classic Hollywood story of Hollywood is such a machine that, and it's funny, it's supposed to celebrate creativity, but Hollywood rejects originality. And it has done that since the beginning of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I always think that there's no bigger, every movie, you always hear like, no one wanted to make it, no one wanted to do it. And then, and that's true of a lot of movies, but it's never been more apparent than Paranormal Activity, because that movie was finished and rejected by every genius in Hollywood for 3 years. So I think it's the ultimate, no one wanted to do it, no one wanted to make it movie, which just goes to show that I think it's why Hollywood is so fun, because no one really, we all don't know what the hell we're doing. And so that always makes for interesting movies and TV shows. So that's movie number one.
Yeah, I mean, did you feel like? I think from my limit, from what I know as a fan or as a journalist looking in on Hollywood, you confirmed my suspicions and my beliefs. But do you think that anything changed after that movie? Do you think anyone got more confident about greenlighting something that was seemingly risky?
No. Like I said, I think the system is built. It's so funny. It's a system that's powered by artists and creative people, but it's built, just like I said, like it's built from its core to reject being original, which is for a very simple reason, which is it's a capital intensive business. Unlike painting a painting or writing a book, it takes a lot of money. And so when there's a lot of money at stake, the question you ask before you say yes to a movie or a show is, what other successful or movie or show does this feel like? And if you can't think of another successful movie or show it feels like, it's like, well, we shouldn't spend money on this thing. But that's why so many things in Hollywood feel like things that have already been made, because of that conversation. And the way that I ducked that conversation was to make things cheaply. The reason obviously I'm at a place in my career I could make expensive movies. I don't think it's as interesting to make expensive movies, because expensive movies tend to retread on things we've already seen. And if you're making cheap movies, you can do the opposite. When we're talking about what we should go forward with, what movie we should go forward with, or what show we could go forward with, we ask that question to see if we have the opposite answer. Does this remind you of something else, or does it feel original or new? And if it feels original or new, we're more inclined to make it. Not everything that we have fits through that filter. I'm the first to say that. We don't always succeed, but at least we try. And a lot of the movies that we've done, post whatever, when the company started, post Paranormal, have been movies that, not to that degree, but no one liked the script to Get Out. That sat around for 3 years. No one liked the script of The Purge. We'll probably make our 6th Purge movie. No one wanted to make that movie. That sat around for years. No one wanted to make The Gift. it's just that's how just thinking of other movies that we have done. I mean, that's how Hollywood works. That's why I could make all 8 of these movies Paranormal Activity, because it's such a great example of so many things that are right and wrong, and right and wrong with the business and why our business started. And it's kind of the movie that I still look to that movie all the time.
Can you tell me anything about Next of Kin?
Well, that's coming out.
Next of Kin?
Paranormal Activity.
Oh, Paranormal Activity, Next of Kin. Yeah, I could tell you that we're not that involved in it.
Okay.
Clearly. Yeah, we Paramount took the reins on that one, and I let them have them.
Okay, cool. All right, what about number 2? What's your next film? Do you want me to keep to the list, or
No, I'm going to keep going.
Okay, go for it.
I'm going to go my own. Okay.
We're going rogue.
Yeah, we're going rogue. Now, there are going to be a lot of Blumhouse movies. Is that all right?
Yeah, I think the only reason why there was the list is that it just needed to be a mix.
A mix of non-Blumhouse. All right, let's go. Next is Rebecca. That's on my list. Okay.
Okay.
So Rebecca was a very important movie to me, because I took a class in college on Hitchcock, and like anything in your life, at the time I didn't think it was going to be that meaningful, but I think that became a very, very, very meaningful, education for me. It was a great class. We just saw every Hitchcock. Not everyone. I think we saw most of the movies that he made. And Rebecca was my favorite one. And I wrote the term paper for that class on Rebecca. And Rebecca, I think it was also obviously not Hitchcock's first movie. It was one of his earlier movies. So it was one of the first movies of his that I'd saw in this particular class. And it really made me fall in love with Hitchcock. And I think, Hitchcock, more than any other director, is the director that we think about the most. I think about the most. I mean, I think Get Out owes a lot to Hitchcock. And I think the best movies that we've made owe a lot to Hitchcock. And all that started with Rebecca.
I mean, I think he's the greatest filmmaker ever to have stood behind a camera. Yeah,
me too.
Do you think, though, what you were just saying about Hollywood and studio systems and so on, I mean, he must have found that frustrating.
I do find it frustrating. I still find it frustrating. There's still, we have
no, sorry. He must have found that very frustrating.
Oh, excuse me. He must have found it incredibly frustrating. That's what I was saying. Like, he had the same problems 80 years ago that I was talking about now. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, tell me about what's your third film? Yeah.
My third film. I mean, we could talk about Psycho too, since we're talking about Hitchcock, right?
Yeah, why not?
So I must have seen Psycho in my college class, although I think I've seen it so many times since then. I don't remember it as Rebecca. I really remember seeing it in my auditorium in college. And Psycho, I remember seeing it so many other times. Oh, since then, and then I'm going to talk about another movie too that I just remember. But I guess Psycho is my second favorite, or equally favorite to Rebecca. I think it's like as close as you can come to a perfect movie. And it's just so haunting and so violent, even though by today's standards, it's actually not that violent. What else can I tell you? I really love the movie.
I mean, obviously, it's funny, actually. It's funny that we're talking about Psycho. For some reason, I ended up watching the Gus Van Sant remake
I saw it too.
3 a.m. about 6 months ago. I have no idea why I sat through it, but that was a very strange decision, wasn't it?
It was a strange decision. I don't know what the thought. Did you read about it? What was he thinking? Did you read any interviews he did?
I just think. I mean, I think Gus Van Sant is a fascinating man. I mean, with that movie, I also listened to a fascinating podcast series about it.
I heard that series, which was great.
Yeah,
I thought that was a great podcast. The woman, I've actually interviewed with her before, but I thought it was great.
Oh, brilliant, man! Yeah, I mean, the thing that's kind of weird about that movie is, well, you know, it kind of pulls that trick off of. I can't remember what the actual term, what the phraseology for this would be, but in that it introduces the person that you think is going to be the crux of the movie and then kills her off in 30 minutes or whatever. It's a real kind of bait and switch. I mean, again, though, I'm just really interested in that thing you were saying about the frustrations of modern filmmaking. I mean, what's the kind of process like? Say a film like Get Out, which I think is actually a really good film to talk about in the same context, which is that wasn't the film that I thought it was going to be to a point. I mean, is it hard to like get money men on board with, you know, ideas that are daring?
Yeah, I think it's really hard. I think it has been since the beginning of movie making history. I think that it's been very complicated to get movies financed that are risky or subversive or about uncomfortable things. But I think the great thing about, you know, storytellers, about producers and directors and writers and about artists is that you know, when they get the bit in the mouth, they don't let go. And there are these people who've pushed these impossible things through the system. I mean, I think of Scorsese. Now, he's a funny person to bring up in that context, except that the amount of money that it costs to make Scorsese movies is just, it's so crazy. And in a way, like even though it's the exact opposite of my business model, I mean, first of all, I love him as a filmmaker, but second, that could be one of our movies. But secondly, I just saw Goodfellas. We could make that movie number 4. But secondly, I didn't just see it. I just resaw it. I watched it again about 3 or 4 nights ago. It's so good. But I admire Scorsese for fighting to spend the kind of money he spends on the movies, because the scope of the movies, like the lush and richness of his movies, is incredible. And if he didn't have the kind of spirit that I'm talking about, he'd say, all right, you know, I could make the movie for half as much money, and he could, but the way he makes a movie, it definitely wouldn't be nearly as good. This is the opposite of my mantra, by the way, but you know, there's an exception to every rule. Scorsese is someone I would never want to see make a low budget movie, because he really knows what to do with all the extra toys and days and production design. I mean, no one knows what to do with those tools better than he does. But every movie that he does, I mean, maybe streaming, it's a little different. Every movie that he does has been a fight.
Yeah.
And that's Martin Scorsese. That's arguably like the best living director.
Absolutely. I mean, did you, I mean, one of the things that Blumhouse has been, one of the things I think that you did is going back to what we were saying about Paranormal Activity, was that you made movies on moderate budgets, and therefore the risk was reduced. But there must be something about you that is good at the hustle still. Like, do you think there's something about your personality which is good at getting films greenlit, even if they are relatively inexpensive?
Well, for sure. I'm a very good salesman. I've always been a good salesman. I started out selling cable TV. Then I was a real estate agent. I got my real estate license. I rented apartments and sold apartments in New York City. Always been good. I love doing sales. I've always been good at sales. That's what and there's very little that's quite as fun as kind of for me as kind of closing a deal or closing a sale. It always feels great.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's so movie. Are we on 4? We're on. Yeah, we're on.
Unless we
4.
count Goodfellas, we're on 4. Do you want to do which we won't count that because we didn't really talk about it.
No, tell me a little bit more about Goodfellas, I guess. Though, why did you rewatch it the other day?
Let's see. I rewatched it. My wife is a writer, and she needed to watch it for something she was working on. I don't remember what it was, but anyway, I watched it because my wife wanted to watch it, and I said I'd love to see it again. And the movie's great. I mean, the movie, it's like, that's another, I mean, it's so good. I was talking to someone else. I was talking to a bunch of people actually, because I had mentioned that I just saw it. And someone's like, yeah, I really liked the first half, but the second half didn't work for me. I liked it from beginning to end. I liked it. And he's a little kid. I liked it when he's like hustling. And then I liked it when he's a big drug addict / dealer. I mean, I thought it was, I think that movie's amazing. Have you seen it recently?
No, it's been a while, but that's it's funny the way the cosmos works. It's been due a rewatch. I've been with my wife for almost a decade now, and she, a bit of a blind spot in her film knowledge is I know we watched The Godfather together, but I'm not sure she's seen Godfather 2. It's a real kind of like gap in her, in her.
That's terrible. You have to have her see it immediately.
I'll tell her that. I'll tell her that next time we're arguing over what movie. I'll be like, "Oh, Jason Blum said you have to watch Godfather 2."
She's gotta watch that. It was cool though, because I see. I'm sure, like you, I watch a lot of TV and a lot of movies, but most of it's I don't watch as many older movies as I should. But it's like so much better than anything I've seen for a long time. It's like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, then we watched Sunset Boulevard, by the way, which I also just saw because my wife needed to see it for something that she's working on. Which also was. Have you seen that movie lately? It holds up great.
That's been a long time.
Oh, it's so good. You have to see it. I mean, it's so good. It was as I remember. It was better than I remembered.
Nice. All right. So number 5.
Number 5, I would say The Purge. And The Purge was a very important movie to us because after we had done Paranormal Activity, and then we did Insidious, and then we did Sinister, and then we did The Purge. And The Purge was the first time that Hollywood wasn't like, okay, this guy's just doing magic tricks with these movies. Like they're actually tackling movie making in a different way, in a way that's producing like great financial results and interesting kind of cutting edge, scary movies. And, these guys are up to something. It changed the company. After we released The Purge, we had access to much better material, and we had access to higher level filmmakers and actors and writers, other producers. And so that movie is always near and dear to my heart because it put us on the path we're on today, which we weren't on before The Purge.
How far do you think The Purge can go? I mean, I think it's such a smart idea, and I also think as well that maybe even a little bit like Get Out, it's very zeitgeisty. Like it feels very of recent times. I mean, were you aware of that when it got greenlit? Were you aware of that when it was getting made?
No, we didn't. I wasn't. I mean, I wasn't. Unfortunately, The Purge is like reality, and The Purge have kind of gotten closer as we made each subsequent movie. But I agree with you. I think the idea is really rich. We made a TV show that lasted for a couple of years that I actually thought was quite good. And I wish it was still going. I liked that show. And I think we could make more of them. I think we can make more of them. James has an idea for another one. We said this was the last one, but of course, best laid plans. And I don't know if we will or we won't, but I would like to make more of them.
Yeah, no, I think it's got endless potential, that franchise. I mean, I hate to, I shouldn't say this in a complimentary way, but one of my most enduring memories of the early days with the pandemic was the person driving around playing the Purge, the Purge sound effects. When people were going into lockdown. That was.
Oh God, that's scary.
Okay, so number 6.
Number 6, I think Friday the 13th was a very formative movie for me because I saw Friday the 13th. It was the very beginning of HBO, the very beginning of VHS. And I think it was on cable. It was on HBO, like, right when HBO started. And I was at my cousin's house in Beverlywood, which is a part of Los Angeles. And it was the 70s. So children were ignored in the 70s. So I don't know where my cousins were. My dad was out to dinner and I was left alone with HBO, which was a new fun thing. And I threw on Friday the 13th. And it terrified me to my core, and not in actually a good way. It wasn't fun. It was just like, it was really frightening. I was in this little room with a bunch of glass doors that looked onto a little terrace. And, I was convinced Jason was going to come through the glass and kill me. And I was terrified to go to bed by myself, which I had to do. Like, I had to go upstairs alone, into the bathroom alone, into my bedroom alone. And I don't know, it must have gotten me ready somehow for the career that I've had. But it was the first scary movie I saw. And I didn't see another horror movie after that for like at least, 2 or 3 years.
It's funny, like almost everything you said then, apart from having not watched a horror movie for many years afterwards, is the same as my first, which was Friday the 13th. Which was Nightmare on Elm Street. It was the
Nightmare on Elm Street.
The first Nightmare on Elm Street. It's exactly the same. But I immediately was like, oh my God, what is this? I now need more. I was watching, sort of Italian splatter within kind of, a couple of months. But I always think with Friday the 13th, if I'm being completely honest, I love Jason. I think he's just such an iconic villain, but I don't think it's an amazing movie. And I actually don't think...
I don't think it is either. Yeah. What were we going to say?
Well, no, well, that really. So why do you think it's endured so much, given that none of the movies are actually amazing?
Well, there's a certain campiness to it now, right? I mean, I haven't seen the first Friday the 13th in a long time, but isn't there like there's kind of a campiness to it which makes it last? I do think a great villain, I think Jason is a great villain, and I think a great villain carries you a long way. Look at Michael Myers. I mean, there have been a lot of bad Halloween movies, but people keep coming back to see Michael Myers.
Yeah. All right, I've just been told 5 minutes, and we've got 2 to fit in. So go on, tell me another one.
Okay, one for them, one for us. Okay, so Get Out, which is certainly one of my own favorite movies that we ever made. We were nominated for an Academy Award for BlacKkKlansman and for Whiplash, but those weren't horror movies. So by far the most meaningful nomination we've ever had for Best Picture is from Get Out, because it's the only time I've ever made a horror movie that's been nominated for Best Picture. That Get Out was similar to The Purge in that it took the company to another level. It got all sorts of people interested in horror who weren't interested in it before. It kind of coincided with what is theatrical and what's happening to theatrical, and one of the few genres left that you could, if you want your movie to play in theaters, is to make a horror movie. And now you could make a horror movie. Not that Jordan was the first to do this; it's been done before John Carpenter. It's been done, but he did it again to make a horror movie that has a big social theme underneath it. And so directors who felt they couldn't make horror movies before were suddenly interested in them. And I think it's a great movie.
Yeah, no further questions on that one. Give us your last one.
Let's see, my last movie. This is one of ours too, but David Gordon Green's Halloween, the first Halloween, was a super special movie to us. First of all, I got to know Jamie Lee Curtis, which was great, and we've had a great partnership with her. We have an overall deal with her now. We have 4 different television things with her in development. We've made a second movie with her. We're about to start our third movie with her. And the same thing with David Gordon Green. We have the Halloween movies, and now we have the Exorcist movies with him. I think we're tied up working with him for the next 4 or 5 years. And Halloween, you know, opened these incredible relationships for us in a way that few of our other movies really have, which is interesting. And I think Michael Myers is the scariest of any character in a horror movie. I don't think anyone's scarier than Michael Myers. He's such a perfectly, simply, super simple, just, you know, John got everything right. And no one is scarier than Michael Myers. And that was very fun. That was very fun to get the opportunity to work with Michael Myers, you know, to work with that category on a series of movies. I don't know if we'll do any more after these 3. I don't know one way or the other, but we made an agreement to marry Michael Myers 3 times, and it's been an amazing journey that we're actually just in the middle of.
Amazing. Can't wait to watch the new one. I thought the last 2 were fantastic. I think sometimes when a classic character like that is revisited, there's so many people who've got it wrong. But I think the thing that's been amazing about those reboots or those modern Halloweens is that Michael just gets turned up. Really, he just gets. That's all it is. You know, he's just more physical. There's more violence. No, I think they're brilliant films.
Oh, well, thank you.
No worries. All right. Well, I better wrap up before I get told off. Thanks loads for your time. And I have to say, as a horror fan, thanks so much for what you're doing.
Oh, well, that's nice of you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for talking to me.
No worries, man. See you later. Bye.
Thanks so much, James.
See you. Bye. Bye.